Hey everybody, welcome back. Today's episode of Isaac, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's Dark Judas to the Lamb, and I'm also gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna dedicate it to the gamers. Today's episode is not sponsored by anybody, but it's in my head that opens up a new sponsor, a spiritual sponsor, if you will. You might say, NL, you can't have a spiritual sponsor. It breaks FTC compliance guidelines, to which I reply, if you can have a spiritual successor, you can have a spiritual sponsor as far as I'm concerned. What am I talking about? I don't know. This one's for the gamers. That's what I'm talking about. If you got a problem with that, you can just freaking... You can fall like Reach, man. You can get... I was gonna say you can get kidnapped, like Princess Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser, but I'm not actively rooting for you to be kidnapped. That would be an indefensible moral position. Just want the gamers to have some credit today. Here you go, gamers. Here you go. I don't know why I mimed like I was throwing a piece of bread to a duck. Here you go. Who's a good gamer? Here you go. You've been a good gamer. Here's your Isaac episode. Okay, honey, it's 6 a.m. Time for your new Isaac episode. Hold on, I got a new tactic. I was told if you stand still with Dark Arts, you get like it triggers like 70 times. Maybe it's on like the final bullet or something. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I'm feeling silly. It's Monday morning, 8:47 a.m. sharp. We had it was like an eventful weekend, without a doubt. It's like, look, it's my baby's first birthday. I live a Spartan lifestyle when it comes to celebrations and gifts and stuff like that. Were it my birthday, I mean, literally, anytime it's my birthday, to be fair, I am like in my 30s, so I'm not saying you have to give up on birthday celebrations at that point, but I think you can actually do what you want at that point. So whenever I have my birthday, sometimes, you know, over the years there's been pressure, like, oh, what are you gonna do? Especially when I turn 30. Oh, it's a big one. What are you gonna do? You gonna go crazy? I went to, I got to pick the restaurant, and I didn't even have, like, a birthday drink, because I was driving. People were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. It's just, it's alright. It's not that big of a deal. It's just another day, isn't it? I'm not trying to be needlessly like, you know, like stiff upper lip or whatever, even though I did for some reason adopt some British parlance there. I'm like Tommy Lee Jones in Man of the House, starring Cedric the Entertainer from the year 2005. This is my happy face. Believe it or not, in spite of my complaints, I am genuinely contented at all times. I don't rely on something like a birthday to necessarily... it's very hard to raise my base level of happiness because I'm already just radiant at all possible times, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, we gotta figure out how we're gonna play this one. I've really come around on Marked, but this might be an exception. We got kind of a lot of moving parts here. It was my daughter's first birthday party. Now, there's a element, like an emotional, wholesome element of that, which is like, wow, it's been a year already. Yo, we made it. We looked at the photo slideshows, and we're like, wow, you know, when she was a baby, like an infant, she was so young and so small and so bald, which is my fault, I think, but that's fine. And now she's like, you know, she's got hair, she's got, you know, words, she's standing up. We've come a long way. There's that almost like, you know what? I like a PhD. Almost like a spiritual element to some extent, where you're like, you know, it's an emotional anniversary, for sure. Then there was also, and I think this is more, it's fine, complicated, like, because COVID is still a thing. There's also, like, her, let me build the moment here, okay? I'm trying to figure out like who the birthday was for. 'Cause it was my daughter's birthday, but she's 1. You know, she doesn't really, without being rude about the situation, she doesn't really know what's happening to a great extent. I didn't know what was happening because it was like, you know, so steeped in Korean culture that, you know, I've never had a Korean baby before, so I was like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Hold on, we're on basement 2. Let's go deals with the angel. Anytime we're a character that can only take spirit hearts, I'm a big fan of that deal with the angel setup. Alright, I guess we'll take the sun. Could use the world card here, but anyway, long story short, there's a Korean tradition called Dol, which I think I've mentioned in videos before. The baby gets dressed up in the hanbok, you know, sits at a table, which is very ornately, traditionally set up, and then they kind of choose an object that's placed in front of them, and that's supposed to have some symbolism for like what their life is going to be like when they get older. You can put, you know, like if you wanted to, like maybe the parents are, you know, like computer programmers or something like that. You could put like a mouse or something in there just to be like, oh, maybe they're gonna be a, you know, a software engineer. Like there's room for like some poetic license. So that setup was like a lot for sure. And then we took, I guess where I've come to the realization here is that essentially the first birthday party was like a little bit for my wife and myself to get some awesome, cute photos of my daughter, of our daughter, and then also like 98% for the grandparents who were somewhat unable to see the baby, you know, over the course of the intervening year. And it was like, man, I had a lot of sympathy for my daughter, because, you know, we know our baby very well at this point. You know, we've spent the whole year together. We've gone through ups and downs. You know, there was the time she said a gooby, that was a big up. There was the time Dada was eating a profiterole, and then she was in the bouncing chair, and I dropped the plate like, I don't know, 6 feet away from her, and it shattered, and she was like, it's the loudest sound I've ever heard. That was pretty traumatic. You know, we know each other's personalities. But we were getting these photos taken, and the photographer was like commissioned by my mother-in-law. He was like a war photographer. Like, he would stop at nothing to get the shot. We did literally like 60 minutes of like costumed photography, because I'm wearing the hanbok too. Kate's wearing the hanbok, which is like the traditional Korean outfit. The baby's wearing the hanbok. Everything's going, you know, reasonably well. When you consider the fact that, you know, we are talking about like literally a 1-year-old infant. She's crying a little bit, but like largely happy. Thought we were done. We got every conceivable possible angle. You know what I'm realizing? It wasn't even for the grandparents. I think it was just for the photographer's portfolio. You know, and then we were like sitting down getting ready to eat. And he's like, okay, now can you guys like, you know, take this table and move it in over here, because we're gonna get shots of like, you know, just the baby with every other person that's here, like one at a time. The baby's crying, and then like she's just overwhelmed, right? Like I think babies are kind of like reserved to some extent at like the best of times. Then, you know, this is a baby that's grown up in like a socially distanced world where she hasn't been around groups of people that often. And then every time she cries, everybody all at once uses like their own homebrewed tactics to try to get the baby to calm down. Some people have like, they're like, loud noises. The baby loves loud noises. Here's a toy that claps. It goes, like put it right in their face. And everybody else is like, no, you gotta stroke her on the cheek. Even though I'm, you know, her aunt, I'm basically a stranger. And then and this is not like specific, like, you know, different people had different techniques, and a lot of them were working out kind of well, but all at once it's like overwhelming, right? It's like asking Twitch chat for diet advice or something. You're gonna get like a million different answers, get stressed out. Anyway, so that, you know, it was one of those things. I really feel like the birthday party, it went well, don't get me wrong, but it was very stressful. Like, you know, We thought we would make it simple, albeit expensive. Like, we got it, I mean, I'm not gonna put a flex on it. We got it very lightly catered, because we had, like, 10 people there, and we're like, we don't want to mess around with, you know, cooking and, like, all the dishes and stuff like that. So, you know, it'd be nice. Let's just make it simple for everybody. I mean, we have a baby. Let's get it catered. And then the costumes, the photography, Kate's parents were like, you absolutely have to have this, like, traditional rice cake for the first birthday. They showed up and they were like, do you have a birthday candle with a 1 on it? And I was like, I'm not trying to rag on my in-laws, okay, but it's already like a complicated day, and they show up and they're like, hey, we're glad to be here. You guys have a birthday candle with a 1 on it? And then I said no, and then Kate's mom said to me, why not? And I was hey, look, a lot of respect for family, La Familia. I should be using dark arts there. But you know, it's one of those things where I'm like, you really, like, you're gonna get the stream version of me. You're not gonna get the nice domesticated version of me. You're gonna get the rhetorical wildcat who's like, do you think that's okay? Show up at somebody's house, they're stressed out. Is basically like, you know, I'm feeling like a little bit like a bridezilla, and you're like, hey, where's your plastic candle with a 1 on it? We didn't think we were gonna get a birthday cake for the baby because the baby can't blow out candles yet. We also don't want to, like, you know, set off the fire alarm or anything like that. Just, I mean, if it's an adult who, or even a small child who's capable of blowing out the candle in a reasonable time frame, no big deal. But we're talking about a baby here. Plus, it's, you know, a pandemic. Maybe don't want somebody blowing on the candle and getting, like, literal micro droplets of their saliva all over the... So anyway, we went out and, like, really quickly got, like, a 1 birthday candle. Then we ended up not even eating any of the freaking cake because we already had the thing catered, so there was dessert to begin with. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I think it's one of those things where, like, when you live it, you're like, this would be a great movie. And when you tell it to other people, they're like, that doesn't sound that bad. It wasn't. It was just, you know, it was just kind of... Maybe it could be like a Kate Hudson movie about, like, no, that stupid makeup artist got my eyeshadow slightly wrong. Like, it's a first world problem sort of thing, okay? Also, like, when I got in the... Like, I was helping my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, like, get everything moved in. I got into their car. There was, like, a dog in the car. And I was like, what? When did you guys get a dog? And they're like, oh, actually, it's like your sister-in-law's dog. We're just gonna, like, leave it in your house during the proceedings. And I was like, okay, you know, rip to my cats, I guess. Thanks for asking. Not because you didn't, but okay. Anyway, it was one of those things where I'm like, I think every party, every gathering, etc., you need 2 different. It's if you'll forgive me for if I haven't alienated you already, let's equate it to like your classic 401k portfolio. Okay, you need stocks. They generate returns for you to a higher degree than other asset classes. And then you need bonds, which, you know, serve as arguably negative correlation with stocks, so you get some the benefit of diversification, the only free lunch in investing. And then also some ballast, so when times get tough, if you have a 100% stock portfolio, you're likely to be down a little bit more. If you got, you know, 80% stocks, 20% bonds, emotionally it might be easier to kind of look at that and go like, oh, it's, you know, not as bad as it could be. I think and I'm sorry for that, but it's just a metaphor that popped into my head. I am not a financial advisor, etc., etc. However, I think at every, like, family gathering, you need the same thing as well, you know? You need some go-getters, you need some leaders, some people who are like, do you need help with anything? I'll go to the supermarket, I'll get the drinks, I'll get the cups, I'll get paper plates, etc., etc. I'll coordinate with, like, this person, that person, and make sure everything's going okay. Some people gravitate to that role, some people like it. And that's good. You always need some go-getters, but I think it's an underappreciated aspect. You do need some ballast. You know, you need some people at the party who are just there to just to chill out, just to have a good time. You know, my wife is a go-getter. There's no question about that. She got everything set up, you know, photographer, food, etc., etc. Coordinating to make sure everybody showed up roughly on time. Baby's outfit, you know, my outfit, her makeup, etc., etc. She had it all under control, but she also comes from a family of go-getters. Which means that while, you know, the proceedings were going on, people were having, like, input about, like, well, why don't you do it like this? Why don't you do it like this? Don't worry, I'll handle it. It's just a little bit too much. You know, we got it set up so everybody can just enjoy themselves. You gotta just, and I've always been great ballast. Sometimes that's bad, and I'm willing to admit that. When you go to a party and it's, you know, things are not necessarily going well, you might need somebody who rolls up their sleeves and is like, I'm gonna, you know, hey, do you guys need some food? I'm gonna go order some pizzas or something. I'm kind of like the fly on the wall who's just like, whatever happens is fine by me, man. This party could have used a little bit more ballast. Me and my parents were ballast. You know, we were in charge of emotional regulation. I think we did a good job. But it was a little chaotic. Anyway, let me just put it this way. Like, both Kate and I, you know, independently, basically, to one another after this, were like, you know what? It really makes me appreciate, like, how simple our wedding was. When we got married, you know, we basically just got married at a nice restaurant, where we, like, exchanged vows. And then just ate lunch. And that was it. There were like 7 people there. Very close family only. And then we ate lunch, and that's it. It was no big deal. And people always, they insinuated, because everybody thinks that by knowing themselves... I mean, wait, oh my god. There's like a better joke in here somewhere. People are always like giving advice, even though they're also trying to find themselves, you know? People, like, go spend 14 months in Thailand because, like, they don't even know what kind of person they are. And then you bring up, like, one problem that you have to them. And they're like, oh, I know exactly what would sort you out. And I'm like, buddy, you're not even sorted. Just chill out. You've been teaching English in South Korea for a decade. You think if I need your advice on what to buy from the GS25, you know, you're probably an authoritative source. But for now, I just want you to say, wow, that sucks. I just want you to acknowledge my complaining. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. But people would tell us things like, you know, oh, like, you know, it's nice and convenient to have, like, a wedding like that. But, you know, don't you think that you might regret it when you get a little bit older? We've been married for, you know, like 7 years now, almost 7.5 years, I guess. If anything, I actually appreciate it more now. As time has gone on, I've gone from, like... Well, you know what has happened is I've gone from, that very non-stressful wedding was kind of stressful, to, oh, wow, like, that was actually a dream come true based on, like, you know, the standards of other weddings and events, so... Yeah, this is, if you want that, like, you know, ornate fairy tale wedding, you know, you want what you want. And I'm being sincere there. I'm not saying it's any more. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna grab it here. And the reason I'm gonna grab it is because even though the jar of fire is awesome, it's kind of annoying to have to manage, like, so many different kind of intersecting mechanics with this character. I'm having a great time on the run, don't get me wrong, but wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to simplify slightly, and, you know, we'll try to use Eden's Soul, oh, whoops, on a valid room. Yeah, you want what you want, and this is, it comes up all the time, like, in React Court. I would never feel comfortable being like, oh, you know, like, and you see this online all the time, right? Like, I'm in a morally superior position because, like, you want to spend, you know, $60,000 on your wedding? That's crazy. The only thing I spend $60,000 in is technology backed by the blockchain. So, like, I feel like, you know, you want what you want. As long as you're doing it for, you know, reasons that are your own reasons. I'm not trying to say that it's the best use of you know, limited financial resources, but, you know, life is also for living to some extent. It's not about, you know, getting to the grave with the least amount of money spent on your wedding. If anything, as time has gone on, I've felt like less morally superior, that I wanted like a budget wedding, and instead I'm just blessed that like I got whatever like cultural cocktail, probably like, you know, basically just being a man, I guess. that made me not appreciate those ornate weddings too much. It's not to say there aren't men who appreciate like a more traditional wedding, but some combination of like only child, watched too much Seinfeld growing up, and then like parents who were like, you can do whatever you want, we're not gonna put any pressure on you to like, you know, have an insane wedding. I think that it probably led to that, but anyway, I don't mean to focus on the negatives. Like, it was fun, genuinely, and, you know, the baby actually did a really good job. I was, you know, sometimes you're just like, I mean, you know what it is? I gotta stand up a little bit and take my role as the father of this child, because, like, I was getting like steamrolled with my own child a little bit, like when trying to calm her down. People that, you know, have children but they don't have my child were like, no, that's not how you do it. And I'm like, what do you don't know what you're talking about? I mean, you do know, yeah, what you're talking. I hope this is relatable, and I'm not like the only person on earth who's ever gone through this. But, like, we had this big like rice cake, you know, like a tok type cake, and you know, somebody that was at the party was like, oh, your baby's crying, like, I'm gonna give her like some of this cake. And then Kate was like, no, I don't think she'll like it. And then she was like, no, I'm gonna give her some. And I was like, oh, actually, like, we don't want her to have any, because, you know, we're like typical paranoid first-time parents, and apparently tok is like one of the foods that is the biggest choking hazards for babies. And then she was like, no, don't worry, I'll just watch her. And we're like, what do you, like, don't put me in a position where I gotta be like, don't do it to family. Just take the hint of like, hey, like, both the mother and father like said no twice. Like, are you really gonna push it? Anyway, like I said, it was a lot of fun. It's one of those days that I think, like, you know, in the moment there was a lot of organizational kind of like issues, and, you know, the coordination was a little tough, but it'll make for some great photos. And next year, happy second birthday, honey. We're going to Pizza Hut, and only 4 people are invited. Tell nobody. We're gonna have a secret birthday party. But it was good, you know? And the photos are very cute. Like, I think, you know, it is a cultural difference for sure. Like, dol is a big deal in Korean culture. Which I get. Like, sometimes people are like, in particular, I think this is like a Western or like a North American attitude, which I embody a lot because I've lived, you know, literally 96% of my life in North America. But we're like, you know, oh, they're not gonna remember it. What's the point? They're not gonna appreciate it. The party's really for the parents. Yeah, that's true, but like, having gone through the first year of a baby's life, it actually makes like a lot more sense. You know, that like the parents could use a day that's kind of special. Because there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know, we're at the point where I've probably changed 1,200 diapers or something like that, and, you know, probably like 850 of them have been relatively simple. Is this a 1-room? It's a 2-room. Okay, well, let's re-roll this then. Okay, this is pretty sweet. Like, honestly, screw you. I deserve to have 2 IPAs and a delicious salmon fillet. Straight up. If anything, the fact that, like, you know, in North America, like, when you turn 16 is like a special day. Now I'm like, get over it. What do you mean you're 16? Who cares? You know, go to school. You haven't done anything yet. Sorry. But keep in mind when I say that, I live by those principles. It's a good item, but we can get better than that. Come on. That's just an insult. It's not good enough. That's good enough. Keep in mind though, like genuinely, I live by those principles myself. When I have a birthday and people are, I get uncomfortable when people are like, "What do you want to do?" Because really, what I want to do is like eat pizza. I like my ideal birthday party has not changed since I was like 11 years old. There was a brief period, you know, in my late teenage years, you know, because in Ontario, where I grew up, the legal drinking age is 19. So when I was in college, what do I want to do for my birthday? It was kind of the same thing. I want to eat pizza and drink like, 14 beers. Now I'm like, maybe like eat some pizza, have like 2 beers, go to bed at a reasonable hour. But people always like, they try to pressure you into, no, what do you don't have to pretend that all you want to do is eat pizza and like have a good conversation. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to pretend, okay? Stop pretending. What do you really want to do? I guess that means if I make up a lie, will you get off my back a little bit? If I'm like, oh, excuse me. If I'm like, oh, I really want to, thanks for asking. I've always wanted to go to this nightclub. People will be like, finally! He's dancing like nobody's watching. I don't even know, like, is this run okay? I should probably be using Dark Arts more. Work with me, it's 9:12 on a Monday morning. I gave my my father-in-law the last of my iced coffee. Look, I'm not trying to... Again, you know when I said you need more ballast at a party? You know, like we finished the events. You know, came back to the house. My father-in-law was like, hey, I really need an iced coffee. I'm like, okay. I mean, I got a little bit. I don't mind giving it to you, by the way, but like you're embarrassing me because I only got like a quarter cup of iced coffee left, and like, now I feel like an unaccommodating host when really like you're really just up here ordering stuff like it's a Starbucks or something. You're like, I didn't realize like after when you're at someone's house, you could just be like, hey, can I get a flat white? Anyway, look, I'm not. This is the organizer's revenge, where afterwards you gossip, and you go, can you believe they asked for like a poached egg instead of a scrambled? Please, I should never have taken Bob's brain on this one. I'll give you that. I think we got an interesting road ahead of us. I literally was like, I think I'm dodging that, but apparently not. This fight is just gonna suck. I mean, this is just... The mom fight just sucks for, like, some types of runs. This doesn't mean we're screwed. Just means that things are gonna be a little touchy for a bit. You know you're getting Bob's brain back in a second here. I don't think we can stop Bob's brain either. Even if we stop marked. Well, that was close. Please just use Bob's brain. Please, please. Send it. Okay. Well, obviously we're going to the lamb, so we need the negative. I don't know where we're going to use Eden's Soul. Maybe we'll get an angel deal on the next floor. Anyway, yeah. You want lobster? Huh, I'm thinking Burger King. Ice Cube. From, I believe that's from Straight Outta Compton. That's NWA, not Ice Cube. Wow, you honestly, like, you need to learn a little bit about rap music before you start coming with ridiculous stuff like that. How to be right but wrong simultaneously. Anyway, probably do a little bit more low-key for baby birthdays in the future. That's about it. There's also, like, can I tell you, and this is, like, we're pivoting from complaining about having a loving family that occasionally, can be a little annoying. Which, by the way, I feel no reservation for saying. I feel like you got to acknowledge, like, I'm sure that I don't mind complaining about family, knowing that, you know, it comes from a foundation of like love and respect. I expect that, you know, I get complained about. It's the circle of life. You know, you have differences from other people. You wear a polite face in public. Then when you get home, you go, God, can you believe the way that, you know, they said this at the restaurant after, you know, because different people hold different things secret and also very dear. You end up with a situation where, you know, you end up accidentally either offending people and they're too polite to mention it in the moment. Instead, they complain about it behind closed doors like God intended. Or you know, you just embody a value that is like different than something they hold sacred. I take it as normal, and then, you know, that's the spirit of family. I think if anybody's like, you know, you just, oh, at all times you're like, this is bliss, no matter what, then honestly, I think you're like a liar, quite frankly. Okay, now we're taking way too much damage. We're still holding Eden's soul like some kind of butthole. Let's take this to the secret room, okay? I'm willing to. I want the leverage now. It's also I forgot how and this is pandemic related. We're slipping from family into pandemic here, but I forgot how exhausting, not in a negative way, just to be clear. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? We're gonna try to re-roll it again. Thank you so much, by the way, for this. I'll take it. I hate... Man, that is way more speed. I thought maybe we'd lose 0.2. Losing that much speed is crazy, but... I forgot how exhausting... I also forgot we had PhD this whole time. Thank you so much. I forgot how exhausting social interactions are. And I don't mean like, oh, it's so, like, oh, I can't keep my eyes open. But I just mean like, so the party was on Sunday, but we had family come in from out of town on Saturday. And it was really like the first time since the pandemic where like I spent an afternoon talking to people and like actively making conversation. And, you know, they have kids, so you're making conversation with their kids. And, you know, it's a lot different to talk to like a 9-year-old than it is to talk to like a 43-year-old. So, you know, you're constantly like managing all these aspects of the social interaction. And I was having a really good time, genuinely. When, you know, the day was over, I was like, man, it's like 7:30 p.m. and my eyes are closing. Like I actually, the muscle of like talking to people, like talking is no problem, but the muscle of talking to people, like, is atrophied. I felt like I was not on my A game yesterday. Or the day before. Just simply with respect to conversing. I was using, you know, $5 words when a $quarter word would have sufficed. I was taking too long to make my points. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a couple of slappers. I had a couple of knee slappers. Like, when the dog was, you know, kicking up a little bit of a fuss, my brother-in-law was like, hey, wow, the dog really likes you. Do you want him? And I said, just shut up. Just be quiet. Through gritted teeth. And he went, ha ha ha, let's go. And I was like, there's a risk. I took a risk on that one that he would think that I was actually telling him to shut up. And he would be like, this is the rudest guy I've ever met in my life. But nah, he got it. And I was like, he plus two'd me. I appreciated it. Okay, you can just go ahead and hit me, I suppose. But I was like, I've had days where I was more on, for sure. And I think it's going to take a long time to come back. Well, actually, what I mean by that is I think that it'll take relatively few events for it to come back, but I think it'll take a long time for those events to come to pass. As we hurtle towards the Zeta, the Zeta Jones variant or whatever is coming up next. The Moonbase Zappa variant. So we've dumped Eden Soul. Sorry, I'm just using... For the first time in my life, I'm trying to use my critical thinking skills. I'll acknowledge, by the way, I didn't play any Isaac over the weekend, which is rare for me. Because we were just so busy. I think I'm a little... A, out of practice, and B, banter distracted. Like, for example, really smart right there. Just walking into the fire, huh? Little banter distracted. Not using all of the mechanics that I have available to me. Like, for example, just doing that. We don't really need a range upgrade too much, but still. Anyway, that's the ballast stuff. I firmly believe in the power of the ballast. Sometimes when you're and I'm going back to this just because, like, I actually feel like I'm onto something. This feels like a very me-type philosophy. Every party needs some people who are like, do you need any help? And then when the host says, if they say yes, then you do what you can. But if the host says no, please just relax and enjoy yourself, you just go, okay, I'm gonna do as I'm told. I would rather do the dishes for like, an hour and a half than do the dishes by myself, then do the dishes for 30 minutes with somebody crowding up the kitchen behind me. Like, I'm just like, just give me some space, okay? I take my role as ballast very seriously. Some people are just there to smooth out the emotions of the overall situation, okay? So if you're ballast, don't feel bad. I think it's a very relevant role. I think we've got to try the spin down. Just to see what... Oh my god. I just realized, actually, and you're gonna laugh because it's been on the screen, but, like, I got some tunnel vision in this game for sure. But I now see what it leads to. And I like what it leads to because of external item descriptions. Wait, what is next? Mom's contact? Well, we weren't gonna get there regardless, but it hurts a little bit. Let me caffeinate. Anyway, that's why I made that tweet. I was stoked. Things were going kind of crazy. Everybody was arriving at like the same time. People were like, what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And it was very helpful, don't get me wrong. Then Kate's dad was like, hey, can you show me how to watch Squid Game on your TV? And I was like, this is my dude right now. Little did I know he'd betray me by asking for that iced coffee later. I'm joking in some ways. But I was like, this guy, he knows his role. He was hanging out with the dog, and he was watching Squid Game on TV. That's like, honestly, he was as helpful as anybody else in that moment. Just by knowing that his job was basically just to stay out of the way. Not because he's any less useful than anybody else that was there, but because, at some point, if everybody wants to be useful, that means somebody that's already being useful has to take on a job as like a manager and be like, you do this, and at that point, there's like, I think there's efficiency like cliffs that you can go off. I don't even know what Aerowalk does. I knew there was some slow involved. I'm hoping it applies to the real boss as well. Well, the spin down, I'm getting ready for the game to crash on the next room when we try to spin down 4 items simultaneously with external item descriptions on. Anyway, it was genuinely fun, just for the record. I don't want people thinking like it was regrettable. The party itself was a very, very good time. Very nice for all family members to be able to see the baby after, kind of being sequestered for essentially her entire life to this point. But also, I think my wife and I just had the realization it's like, there's a reason that people, are just like, we're gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know about anybody else either. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm very pro photo. If you look at my phone, Like, I've never been a photo guy. Like, not just the photographer or whatever, but I've never been like, oh, I gotta take a photo of, like, every big moment in my life. Kind of been a boomer even when millennials were Zoomers. Which was a period. There was, like, a 10-year period where we were the youngest, generation with any kind of impact. Now we're old. It happens. It'll happen to you, too. Thank you. If it hasn't already. But if you look at my phone, I got, like, just endless photos of my child, right? It's just photos of my child, and then, like, my vaccine passport QR code. Like, that's pretty much my entire, I don't even think we want Incubus, believe it or not. I think, believe it or not, I think we want to reroll all of this. So this will become Lord of the Pit. This will become Experimental Treatment. This will become Teratoma. This will become 8-inch nails. So 8-inch nails is kind of a gimme. I think we probably well, let's see. We get Dead Cat off of a spin down. Key piece. Hero's Medallion into Revelation. Now we're talking. Now we're talking, man. Why didn't you say so? That would be lovely. Anyway, so I'm not like a photo guy. And I understand, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I've done Champions of Fire. So I understand, sometimes you have like these long photo shoots. It's necessary to take too many photos to get enough that are useful. But I do wonder, like, what percentage of... Do you ever think that maybe taking photos is mankind's largest waste of time? And I don't mean that taking photos... I'll take it for now. I don't mean taking photos itself is a waste of time. I guess what I mean is the amount... Double spin into Brimstone. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think I have a plan. And I hope to live long enough to make it possible. Can I tell you, my brain is just like, I don't want to do this room. When the whole room gets dark and then the enemies fly in from all sides, yeah, my brain is just like, I don't really want to do this. Good dark arts, though. But I'm fighting against that temptation a little bit. Might take a little while here. If I regret anything, it's honestly just taking Marked. Which and it's like one of my, one of the most enduring lessons, okay, in my life is like, stop taking items that you don't enjoy, but are good on paper, but are bad to use. But anyway, but I wonder, like, the amount you get a certain amount of joy or some kind of feeling. Really? You came from the ceiling. At least we finished the room. We need to get to 9 lives first before we get to Brimstone. 9 lives will also get us to Revelation. It would be nice to just get to 9 lives right now, if it could be swung. But you get a certain... You know what? Just kill me. If you're gonna kill me, just kill me. So I can finish my train of thought. Fair enough. You got me? You get a certain amount of joy when you see a photo later. But also, I'm like, man, if it takes you half an hour to get a photo, that gives you a certain... Like, it gives you a certain amount of displeasure to take all these photos, and then later you get a little bit of that joy back. I'm like, this is the worst trade deal in the history of deals. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. We did not play well today. I think we got spin down dice a little late. But I also played badly. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!